Hey guys, welcome back to another Friday Reads. Before jumping into today's video, which is going to be my top 10 unread authors, so the top 10 authors that I really want to get a chance to read their books, but I haven't yet for one reason or another. Before jumping into that, I do have a couple PSAs. If you don't care and just want to get right into talking about the books, I will leave a timestamp here. You can skip to this time to skip over all my rambling. First off, yes, my makeup looks a little strange. I am testing a bunch of new products that don't necessarily go together, but I'm trying to gather up my reviews because I do have a beauty channel, which is always linked down below if you're interested in makeup and beauty products. Definitely look there. But yes, this blue teal situation doesn't really go with the rosy lip. My hair, that's the first one. Secondly, I did change my channel name to MacInnis Mama. I just really didn't like Emily and Family. I put it as that because it was going to be the family extension to my Emily and Max branding, if you will, that I've had previously. And that was chosen years ago before I was even blogging or doing YouTube or really doing Instagram, because Emily and Max was a handle that was available on everything. And if you didn't know, my oldest son's name is Max. So I wanted it to kind of be the same, but I just didn't like it. So it's MacInnis Mama, that's my last name. I'm a mom. This is still going to be both family, mom, cleaning, and book videos. So don't worry, the actual content that's going up isn't really going to be much different, just the channel name. Thirdly, I'm sorry for the last 2 weeks I haven't posted a Friday Reads video, and October was a really slumpish month for me, which I did talk about in previous videos. I was really in a funk. I don't want to say like, oh, I was depressed, because I haven't been diagnosed as that, and I don't want to make light of people who do have depression, but I would say it was getting to be that serious. But I'm feeling much better now, and actually the reason I haven't been posting as many videos on this channel as I usually do is because I've been reading a lot. Whoa, I'm catching up on all the books I wanted to read last month that I didn't get a chance to. So I'm actually, from not putting as much content out there, I have more content ideas, which I'm really excited about. In December and January, I don't know if it's just going to be on Fridays, because I do have my year-end wrap-up videos I want to be doing. Worst books, best books, top 19 books I want to read in 2019, like all of those types of videos I want to be getting up in December and January. And same goes with my beauty channel. So my schedule is going to be all over the place, but there will still be booktube videos on this channel. I'm sorry for my subscribers that are subscribed to me only to watch my booktube type videos. They're coming back. They are back. We're doing it today. I think that's all I had to ramble on about. Let's get started on my top 10 unread authors. I have a list here. These are not in like an order, in the sense like this is the one author I want to read the most and going down, or you know, the reverse of that. I was just looking through my Goodreads TBR, and I've had these authors kind of floating around in the back of my mind. I own some books from a lot of these authors that, for whatever reason, I have not read their books, and I need to. I think this is a type of video I'm going to update maybe every year or something, so maybe these will be like the top 10 authors I want to read in 2019. We'll see. First on my list is Brandon Sanderson. If you are a lover of fantasy, I feel like you have to read his books. And the reason I haven't is because all of them are so big and his series are so long. So it's not like, oh, it's this one big book, but it's a standalone. Some of his books are standalones, but I feel like you need to be in the right mindset to really get immersed into his world. He has many different series going on, and because there are flow charts kind of stumbling around the internet that I have looked at of like where you should start. Are you typically a YA fantasy reader? Start with this series. Do you like this? Start here. I think for me, I'm going to go in order of publication date, so read his first book first. And that way I'm not spoiling myself on anything by accident, because those flow charts, although they have clear starts for his series, like based on whatever criteria you're looking for, once you read the first or second, then they, like the lines start crisscrossing all over the map. And I'm just like, I can't choose. I can't pick. So specifically, I want to be reading Elantris as well as the Mistborn trilogy. It's a trilogy, but they're just huge series. I know I need to get over that. I need to dive into my bigger books. That was a long, rambly thing. Next is Leigh Bardugo. And I do own Six of Crows, but I realized that I need to read the Grisha trilogy first. They're not, the series are in the same world. I want to read the Grisha trilogy first before I dive into Six of Crows. I have heard that it's not people's favorite. It's nothing spectacular. My lighting is getting very strange. And people love Six of Crows, but even still they recommend reading the first trilogy first. And I think that's why I haven't picked this up, even though it's on my shelf and I'm always looking at it like, yeah, I really want to read this book, but I don't own the other ones. And I already get so many books from the library, and you know, they're due back, that I try not to just get out all of the books I want to read so I can have them lined up and choose that way. That may not make much sense, but yeah, I haven't read Leigh Bardugo yet. Next is Patrick Rothfuss, specifically The Name of the Wind, and similar to Brandon Sanderson, although Patrick Rothfuss books are not like these huge series, The Name of the Wind is a very large book, but it is many people's favorite adult fantasy. They compare it to like an adult version of Harry Potter, which has me so excited, but I'm intimidated by the size. Maybe because the story is told in a way that your main character is speaking the story of his life, I feel like maybe audiobook would be the way to go to read the story for me, because that's how it's written, so I feel like it should translate well, of course, assuming that the narrator does a good job. Let me know if you've listened to the audiobook of The Name of the Wind and if you'd recommend it, because I think that's the route I'm going to take. Next up, I have Maggie Stiefvater. So I picked up The Raven Boys to read during Lalathon because The Raven Cycle is Kayla or Lala's favorite fantasy series, and she is not someone who likes fantasy typically, so that has me pretty excited. Even though fantasy is my favorite genre, I wonder how that stacks up. Like, will a lover of fantasy love this series as much as non-lovers of fantasy love this series? Maybe I'm just like reading into things way too much. Probably am. I want to read both the Raven Cycle series as well as the Shiver series. Do I have that right? Anyways, I've heard her books are really fantastic and I haven't read it. You'll notice most of these are fantasy because, like I just mentioned, fantasy is my favorite genre. This next one, I'm definitely cheating, but I'm gonna let it slide, and that's Victoria Schwab. So if you didn't know, you probably did. Victoria Schwab and V.E. Schwab are the same author. However, she writes under V.E. Schwab for her adult books and Victoria Schwab for her young adult and middle grade books. And because the writing styles are probably vaguely similar, however, you write differently when you're writing an adult novel versus writing a young adult novel, because or else there would be no difference in the genres, even though they're both fantasy. Does that make any sense? So I have yet to start A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab, but this is the third book in the Shades of Magic trilogy, and I'm obsessed with this trilogy. The first two books were so good. I'm really excited to start this, but I'm having trouble picking it up because it's so big. Clearly, that's a problem I have. But I want to get into her young adult books as well as middle grade. I do want to read City of Ghosts, which is her newest novel and her first middle grade book. I specifically want to read the Monsters of Verity series duology, which is The Savage Song and Our Darkest Duet, and all her other series. All of them. I want to read all of her books. I know she has older works that are not talked about nearly as much as her books published, in the last few years. So I don't know if I'm going to go way back to things that she first published, but definitely The Savage Song and Why Can I Not Think? Wow, why did I actually have to look that up? Vicious and Vengeful. Oh God, obviously I have not had enough coffee today. Anyways, Victoria Schwab, ladies and gentlemen. That was embarrassing. Next up, I have Michael Grant, which I feel like a lot of people don't talk about him anymore. Actually, I have never seen anyone talk about him on BookTube, but Brittany the Bibliophile has the books on her bookshelves in the background that I see, and the spines just drew me in to the point where I looked up what the books are about. And this is an older dystopian series, young adult dystopian, where I believe people wake up one day and all adults are gone. There's no more adults. So it's like people 17 or 18 and younger have to fend for themselves and figure out about this world and how to function in it, operate in it. Obviously there's no adults to fix anything, to keep the power on, the water going, everything. Make everything in the world work. You need adults. So reading the premise of that, it's just stuck in my mind for months since I looked it up. And I know it's older and I know it's targeted towards a younger audience. I'm 24. I read mostly young adult, but I do read adult books as well. And I feel like this series is young adult, but like veering on the younger side, if that makes sense. And it is quite a large series. I think there's like 7 or 8, maybe even more books, but I want to give it a try. It's one of those things that have just stuck in my mind as you should read that, you should read that, you should read that, and then I'm like, ooh, Muse of Nightmares. Next up, Kendara Blake. I obviously want to read the Three Dark Crowns series, and I believe she has another Anna Dressed in Blood I've heard good things about as well. She's another YA fantasy author. Obviously there's a theme here. There are others, but not very many other types of authors on here. And I don't think that those books would be new all-time favorites, which I think is why I haven't picked them up yet. But I do think that I would really enjoy them, and hearing people talk about them gets me excited to read the books. But again, like all of these authors, I just keep skipping over them. Next up, I have Colleen Hoover. She writes controversial, problematic, adult contemporary books, kind of romance, but they're darker. They typically deal with things like domestic abuse, just unhealthy relationships as far as I know. And when I'm in the mood for it, I like darker contemporaries like that. They're not really like thriller like side of things, but they're definitely darker women's fiction essentially. And I've heard a lot of people are reading their books, a lot of people say they're problematic, but honestly I kind of like problematic books. It gets, okay, unpopular, controversial opinion here. Sometimes when a book is so flawlessly, perfectly sensitive to everything possible in this world, they can be boring. I can see and obviously understand that things are problematic and disagree with things, but getting fired up for reading a book is kind of fun. Also, I don't know if that makes any sense. And no, a book does not. A book that is unproblematic does not mean a book is boring, but sometimes you just want a little drama. At least I do. That's a side note. Next up I have Emily Giffin. I've been dipping my toes into like chick lit women's fiction type of stuff, and obviously Emily Giffin is like one of the queens of chick lit, and I feel like I just need to read her books. There's a lot of chick lit authors that I want to read, but Emily Giffin is like at the top of my list, but also Jackie Collins. I have read Sophie Kinsella's Finding Audrey, and I really did not like that book, but I'm interested in reading her adult novels, but I've read one of her books, so she's not really included in this list. But just opening up that topic, I'm trying to expand my genre horizons. I'm not closed off to any specific genre at this point, but like I don't read a lot of historical fiction or nonfiction or classics or chick lit. There's a lot of genres I don't really read that much of, but I would like to try. So if you have any other chick lit recommendations, let me know. I feel like those are more summary reads for me. Like I'm in a heavy, dark fantasy mood right now. But your recommendations are still valid, so let me know. Lastly, I have Cinda Williams Chima. And I have to blame Brittany the Bibliophile for this because she has been reading the Seven Realms series. I think she's finished now, but over the last few months she's been reading this book, and there's another series that follows this one called the Shattered Realms series. So you know the last book ends dramatically for there to be a whole nother series called the Shattered Realms series, and you know that they're companion series, so they like follow on from each other. Anyways, this is the third book in the series, The Grey Wolf Throne. I have the fourth book, The Crimson Crown. I still need to buy the first two, but I found 3 and 4 for really good deals. I found this one for $5.50 and the other one for $2, so I couldn't pass them up even though I didn't have the beginnings of the series, and I'm just really into it. This is another heavy, dark fantasy type of series, but it's young adult. So how many times am I going to say I'm really excited to get to this book? I need some more adjectives. Okay guys, so those are the top 10 unread authors that are on my list. I need 2 things from you. 1, let me know which author I need to get on it first, and also like which book, if it's not glaringly obvious of what I've talked about. And 2, which authors should I add to this list? Obviously, there are thousands of authors I have not read, and there's also authors that I am really excited to read their books, but they didn't make my top 10 list. So if you have some to add that you think I really should get on it, let me know that down in the comments below as well. I'm gonna let you go. This video has been longer than I intended because of all of my PSAs at the beginning, but if you enjoyed today's booktube video, Friday reads video, whatever, Give me a thumbs up so that I know. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!